Hey everyone, Danielle Weiss here. I just wanted to make a little video for you guys today about mindfulness. And I want to talk about what mindfulness is, give some definitions and explanation. And then at the end, I'll talk about why mindfulness is like a bicep curl. So, the word mindfulness itself, I think, is actually kind of a misnomer, which is kind of funny because I named my business after it. But the word mindfulness says mindful, and mindfulness really has nothing to do with the mind and thinking. I find that kind of confusing. So I'd like to give some just little definitions. I have a couple here. So the first definition of mindfulness that I'll give is that mindfulness is awareness without judgment. And the second definition that I have is that mindfulness is attention in the present moment. Right? So mindfulness is all about turning our attention to what's here and now. And that can be using the five senses is a great way to tune into what's here and now. Like, what am I touching? What am I hearing? What do I see, taste, smell? Right? The five senses, the things that we sense are always in the present moment. There's no way they could be in the past or future. So that's a great way to turn our attention to the present moment. Okay, so here's a little example. If I were to say, put your attention on this pen, you would actually have to do something. You would have to turn to it, maybe look at it, notice things about it. Oh, it's got a green stripe. It has 4 lines in it. It has this clear pen cap at the bottom, right? So when you say pay attention or turn your attention to the present moment, there's a shift, right? You're putting your focus on something and you're noticing all the different things about it. And the key is without judgment, right? That part's really important because normally when we're in our minds and when we're in thinking, there's a lot of discernment about, oh, is this right or wrong, good or bad? And with mindfulness, it's more of this open awareness that's just taking in information, noticing what's here without judgment. So that's a little definition, explanation of what mindfulness is. And now, why does it matter? Why do we talk about mindfulness? Why is it such a buzzword these days? Well, in my opinion, most people on earth, most of the time, are completely absorbed in thinking. So we're just up in our minds in these habitual, repetitive thought patterns and thought streams that just go and go and go. And thinking on its own isn't necessarily problematic, but because we've become so overly reliant on thinking, and because humanity has become so dominated by thinking, we've actually lost connection with other ways of living life, including being. And what being is just experiencing the present moment, being here and now, connected to the present experience, which is really when we get that feeling of being in the flow and feeling joy and happiness. And the thing about thinking is that when we have these habituated, repetitive thought patterns, they're overwhelmingly negative. They're, like I said, repetitive, so we've already thought them before, and they're creating suffering. So we're often becoming more stressed, more anxious, more depressed because of this absorption into thinking with no awareness about it. So mindfulness is actually a really effective and awesome tool to learn how to take breaks from thinking, to come out of those thought streams, to be able to catch ourselves when we're doing them, and then bring ourselves back into the present experience. So that is actually really helpful for dealing with things like anxiety, depression, and stress. So now on to why mindfulness is like a bicep curl. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit just so I can show you my little definition. So here's what happens, right? We're out and about in the world and we start thinking, oh my gosh, did I forget to do that? How could I forget to do that? I'm so dumb. I always forget to do that. No one's going to like me because I forget forever and I'm going to be alone. And right? So these thought streams kind of like tend to go on this spiral down motion till they kind of take us down to the bottom of the rabbit hole into this kind of dark place. So we think and think and think and we're down the rabbit hole. And then there's a moment where we, if we're using mindfulness, can catch ourselves. And when we catch ourselves, we create an opportunity to say, oh, I'm doing that thing again, where I think and think and think myself into this really anxious place. And now that I've noticed that I'm doing that, I'm going to turn my attention back to the present moment. I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to feel my body. I'm going to notice my surroundings. And then we'll go around about our lives. And 2 seconds later, our mind will wander again down the thought stream. And then we can bring it back again. And then our mind wanders, and then we bring it back. So maybe you kind of notice that there's sort of this motion of bringing your attention back. You actually have to shift your attention back to the present moment. And there's where the mindfulness practice comes in. It's actually that motion of bringing your attention back to the present again and again, hundreds of times, every time your mind goes down that thinking stream. And every time you bring your attention back, just like a bicep curl, that muscle starts to grow stronger. That muscle of returning to the present moment gets strengthened. And this is happening in your brain. New neural pathways are being formed. New patterns in your nervous system are being formed. And you're just getting better at it. Like you're practicing it over and over. Just like any new skill, the more you practice it, the more you get better at it and the stronger that becomes. So that's why mindfulness is like a bicep curl. Just like going to the gym and working out, we get stronger and stronger. And that's the same with a mindfulness practice. So if this is something that you're working on or that might be of service or just help you out with stress and anxiety, I definitely recommend finding maybe an app on your phone. I really like Headspace. Also, there's Insight Timer, which is a free one, and there's Calm that I've heard of. Or you can just go on YouTube. There's, I'm sure, millions of videos on meditation and mindfulness that are all different lengths of time. One more thing that I'll say about this is, in my opinion, practicing mindfulness consistently over time is super important. And so picking a way to practice that's actually really feasible and allows you to really sustain that practice and be consistent is important. So don't say, oh, I'm going to practice meditating an hour a day if that's really not realistic. Start with 2 minutes. Like really start with maybe 5 minutes a day. Set a timer and sit down and just notice your breath. Notice the sensations in your body. Notice your 5 senses. Name things in your surroundings that you notice. And just having that 2-minute, 5-minute practice and being able to do it every day will really make a big difference. And you might, just try it out as an experiment and see what happens. So let me know what you think about this video. Thanks so much for tuning in and have a good day.